Hey you guys, it's MJ and welcome back to Pet Adventures. Today I thought I would kind of touch on the basis of what I use for my aquariums, meaning the goldies that you see in the back and basically most of the fish that we have. So let's get started. So I would say the number one basic thing you should have for all fish is Prime. This is basically just a dechlorinator. It makes tap water safe in short terms. There's a lot of chlorine in tap water, so it's just very unsafe for any fish. I do tell people that there's another option like getting distilled or spring, but honestly it's just kind of a waste of money. I mean, even if you have something like as small as a betta fish, it's just so easy to be using your tap water. I know that when I started out with aquatics, I thought that tap water was just a huge no-no, so we used a bunch of distilled and all that kind of stuff, but basically I would just get this. It's the best kind that you can get. It's called Prime. I have the big bottle, but if you just want to try it out at first, you can always start off with the small bottle. It doesn't really matter. It's by Seacom, and I really like their products. Usually these products are pretty safe, I would say, for the most part. I'm not sure if all of them are, but definitely something you should use. It depends on what size gallon your tank is, on how much you use. For example, we have a 40-gallon back here and we use 1 cap full of this. Another basic thing that I like to use that I think also most people should be using is just a way to test your water. These are the ones that we use. This is just testing the ammonia in your water. This one's for nitrate testing, and this one is for the GH and KH. If you are a beginner, I know that this sounds like a lot. I know when I started out it sounded crazy. So the only way to really understand that is going through the cycle for cycling your tank. That is kind of a whole nother video. It is a lot to explain for most beginners. So I would have to explain that in a whole nother video. But if you kind of already get what all that's about as far as cycling goes, when you first start a tank, you're always going to want to test it. I tell people to at least test it at least once a day if you can. Twice is what I would prefer. And I know that the best ones that, from my experience, have the little vials and the solutions. They have test strips as well, but I heard bad reviews on those. Also, I didn't touch into this. This is for testing the pH. This is what we're using, so that's also something you should be testing. Everyone, just about everyone at least, goes through a period where you will get ick with your fish. So the product I like to recommend is IckX. So you would probably find this online. Just look IckX right here, and this is what it looks like. It's just for curing your ick, so this is what we're using at the moment. A lot of poor fish, especially fish in the pet store, suffer from ick. A good tip about this is that it also will treat your velvet disease. So if you also know what that is, it will also treat that. Something we also like to use is called CyroPro, and this is basically just for the anchorworm, and it also treats fish lice. And something it also does is it aids wounds for healing. So if you ever do see any kind of like maybe wounds on your fish, it'll also do that. It's not typically around the stores, but you can buy it online. It's really good product, so definitely recommended. And this is also for ponds, freshwater, and marine and aquariums. Next is Prasic Pro. This one here is for intestinal parasites. It's for the tapeworm, flukes, and flatworm as well. So this is something that's also a really good product, and it's called Prasic Pro. So I don't recommend using it on the small cory catfish. We didn't have a good experience with that, but we have had a good experience with the rest of the fish. So definitely something to think about if you ever have any of those intestinal parasites. This is by API. Not everything we have is from API, so that's why I'm pointing it out. But usually, I guess I would say some of the API stuff we've used is pretty good. This is called erythromycin. It's basically just a bacterial fish disease kind of cure, so this is what it looks like. And we got it off clearance, so we got really lucky. but it's for like the mouth fungus and the gill disease, stuff like that. And if you ever even see some like open red sores or any fin rot, you can also use erythromycin for that. But I mean, it says it right on the front of the package too, so just a little detail to help you out. Now we have Repashy here. This is what it looks like. We only get it online, and this is what we feed our fish. It's something that you kind of cook and then you put in the freezer. But it's basically a gel food. It's really, really good if you have the fancy goldfish that have like the really stubby bodies. Just because if they're fed pellets, it usually can kind of get them a little constipated, and this is something that goes through their digestive system really well. So definitely recommended if you want to go the extra mile for your goldfish. If you're not really feeding them that much on average, I guess it would be okay. But I know that we feed ours a lot in order for them to grow really nice and healthy. So if you are planning on doing that, definitely get Repashy. And it lasts a while as well. We do actually have pellets, just because on the side, like I said, we do feed them just a little bit. So especially if you have comet goldfish, I know that their bodies are a lot less stubby. So usually pellets would be, on average, pretty okay. I still would highly recommend the Repashy though. But we do feed them the Spectrum pellets, so that's kind of what it looks like. It even has goldfish on there. Usually Spectrum, I even feed Spectrum to, my betta fish. I think I showed it in a previous video. So if there is Spectrum available at the pet store, I usually would choose that brand over a lot of the others, but still a Repashy person, so. Now this is getting down to the real basics. It's just something that's just common for everybody. A lot of people usually have problems with algae, I've noticed. Algae is usually caused by the light being on too long in your tank. You could just shorten the hours of, your light. Nutrients in the water is also what causes a lot of algae from the fish poop, so also keep that in mind. But just to help, I would say you should at least shorten the hours of the light just to try to help. And you could test it out just for old time's sake. You could just test it out if you really don't like the algae in your tank. I know most people don't, so there is a product called the Green Killing Machine. You can use it for some tanks. I'm not sure if it's appropriate for all tanks, but it should be okay for some. It is quite on the pricey side. I don't remember exactly how much it is, but I remember it being very pricey, so you'd have to look it up. So don't quote me on it. But something very basic is just a simple sponge. They have the hand sponges, and then they have the ones that just have a long stick if you don't want to get your hands too wet. I know I don't. I definitely don't. I'm like a cat. I don't want to get wet. But it's just very basic. You should always have something to clean your tank because no one likes looking at a dirty tank. I know I didn't. We actually cleaned mine yesterday because I was sick of it looking like crap. I also have this API just to clean your glass, little solution here. Also, we can't forget this. This is what everyone should have. Just because if you're going to be doing water changes, you don't want to make it any harder on yourself. This is just a regular siphon. Here's the tube back here, and here's just what you put into the tank. And this is just to kind of squeeze out all of the water right here. But we use this for all of our tanks, so definitely something you should keep in mind. And if you do have very small fish, like I do, my community tank has very small fish. If you do have small fish and you're worried about them ever getting sucked into right here, you could just put like a really light piece of cloth on here and then just secure it with like, a regular rubber band. Now right here I just have a box of our pump. This pump is just used for water changes that can be quite difficult when you start getting bigger tanks. So, but this is just a regular submersible pump that we have, and we just drain it into our bathtub. It all pumps into the bathtub. So it's basically only if somebody has a really big tank. If you have a small tank like me, like 20 or 10 or something like that, you won't really need it. But yeah, it comes in quite handy. And the last thing, something that I think every person has if they have fish, is a net. That's just how it is. You need a net. You can be a little ghetto and use your hands maybe sometimes, but it's just a net, so that's what it is. I think for the most part I've covered it. This isn't exactly for new aquarium hobbyists or anything like that. It's just to give you an idea of what I have, like kind of like in my little medicine cabinet, and something that we use for the goldies and also for my small community tank. But I mean, it's definitely stuff that I would recommend if you're ever having like some problems maybe. You know, just some stuff that I would give it a shot. Alright, so thank you so much for joining me here at Pet Adventures. Please let me know down below what other animal you want me to talk about. I also mentioned cycling. If you'd like me to do a separate video on that, don't hesitate to ask me as well. So please subscribe to this channel, give this a big thumbs up, and thank you so much for joining me again. Bye!